Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Koranita Mayapur Sasi Jaya Koranita Jaya Mayapur Sasi Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Mai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So I'm just back from temple. We did a small celebration on Balaram Jayanti. So bear me a second. I'll just share my screen where we continue from Canto 10, Chapter 2. Canto 10, Chapter 2. I think from verse 30. Yeah, we'll continue from text 30. So as of now, what we have seen is, I'll just a quick recap. Hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So just a quick recap. We have seen like how Lord Balram was being transferred to the womb of Mother Rohini from the womb of Mother Devaki, and then we have seen like how Lord Krishna appeared into the womb of Mother Devaki. So first he appeared in the mind of Vasudeva, and then to the mind of Devaki, and to the heart of Devaki, and then to the womb of Devaki. And then as she was there, as she had Krishna in her womb, all the devatas, they appeared, right? And all the devatas, they appeared and they started praying obeisances. And elaborately we discussed about two things yesterday, like the demonic nature and the devotee nature, Asuri and Suri. So Suri are Sura are the devotees, and Asura are who are non-devotees. So we see the both the devatas where they appeared, they were completely absorbed of Krishna. However, in a very favorable way, they are thinking that they are saying that you are our master. And on the other hand, we saw how Kansa was completely absorbed of Krishna even while sleeping, walking, drinking, eating anything, but in a inimical way. He wanted to kill Krishna. He was in distress, and he was seeing his death actually. Right. So we saw very nice prayers by Devatas. We'll continue from there itself. Okay. Oh, what happened? Right. Okay. You see here. So text 30, if I'm not wrong, can you please someone let me know? Yeah, I think we're in text 30. त्वय्यम्भुजाकसकैलसत्त्वधाम्नि चेतसैके त्वपादपोतेन महाकृतेन कुर्वन्ति गोत्स्व पदभवाम्बुधिं गोवत्स पदां भवाम्बुधिम्. O lotus eye Lord, by concentrating one's meditation on your lotus feet, which are reservoir of all existence, and by accepting those lotus feet as a board by which to cross the ocean of omniscience, one follows in the footsteps of Mahajanas, great saints, sages, and devotees. By this simple process, one can cross the ocean of nations as easily as one step over the footprints of a calf. Let's see what says there. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschadya Satarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So now the devatas are praying. How? By meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. And interestingly, just today in the temple while we were discussing, and Prabhupada was giving class, and he asked, like, why do we say lotus feet? What that lotus feet mean? Right? How can a feet be a lotus? Like, so that's the question was, and we discussed a nice point. He says, then the one Mataji answered saying that white lotus feet is basically because, see the lotus. So lotus stems are in the water, but the lotus flower is not touching the water, actually aloof of the water. Even if water comes up, it can't contaminate the leaf. It cannot contaminate at all. In a similar way, Krishna's feet, when it comes to this earthly planet, it's not contaminated by the three metal modes of nature, right? So that's why it's called as lotus feet, Krishna's lotus feet, right? So they are even Krishna's lotus eyed. Krishna's everything, Krishna's panchangre. So everything is Krishna's lotus. Namaste panchangre. Kunti Maharani praise. So while meditating on lotus feet of the Lord, what they are saying that you are the reservoir of all existence. So we discussed earlier when the devatas prayed Satyavratam Satyaparam Trisatyam. Trisatyam means you existed before the creation of this material world, even spiritual world, and even after annihilation of this material world, you exist. So they are saying you are reservoir of all existence, and by accepting your lotus feet as a board by which to cross the ocean of omniscience. So if we are thinking about how to cross the ocean of omniscience, how to cross this material world, how to peer this universe and go back to spiritual world, answer is here: accept the lotus feet of the Lord, because that works as a board, right? And if we cannot see Krishna directly, then how to hold his lotus feet? Answer goes here: then one follows in the footstep of Mahajanas, the great saints, sages, and devotees. So by holding their lotus feet tightly, actually we can cross there. In one of the devotee, in one of the pastime is being said by Prabhupada. So eventually Prabhupada says, just hold my dhoti, I'll take you across this material oceans, right? So just by holding, basically holding the feet, it means actually following in their footstep, right? Not imitating, is actually following their footstep, right? And then by this simple process, the bhakti process, very simple. Prabhupada says it's so simple that we miss it. The chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is so sublime, so simple process to attain the highest benefit in this human life that we miss it. Right? Janma lave param pumsam ante narayana smriti. That verse comes in Canto 2. So the most beneficial thing in this lifetime is ante narayana smriti, and that's how can we remember Krishna at the time of death. Ante, how it happens when we practice it every single day, then we can remember Krishna, right? So that's a simple process. One can cross the ocean of nations as easily as one step over the hoof print of calf. So this ocean of nations is Bhavsagar is very, very difficult to cross. That Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita as well. Right. However, just by accepting the lotus feet of the Lord through his devotees, through his, the great saints, sages, that whole ocean, it comes out like just an hoop prints of a calf, and we unknowingly cross it. We do not try. If you want to do a long jump, maybe 10 feet, you need to prepare running from a long way and then jump and then cross it away. Okay, now I've crossed it, kind of things. But if there's a very hoof print of a calf, not even a cow, it's just a calf, right? And then what you do, you just cross unknowingly, without any thought, okay, I can cross it very easily. So that's the sublime process, simple process to cross this ocean of nations, right? Prabhupada said in purport that true mission in life is to cross the ocean of nations of repeated birth and death, janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha dosamdasaram. By seeing that these are actually miseries, we need to think of how to cross it. And those in the darkness of ignorance, however, do not know the mission, instead being carried away by the waves of metal nature, prakriti kriyamanani gune karamani sarvasa ahankar bhumatma kartahamiti manyate. They think themselves, I am the doer, and then they entangle in this whole cycle of birth and death, right? And the very easy process is given in this verse, the prayers by the devatas. They're saying that just by holding your lotus feet, accepting your lotus feet, actually we can cross this bhavsagar, right? Earlier we discussed in a very first canto, first chapter, it's called a bhava aushadhi. The perfect medicine for the conditioned soul is taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, right? So, and Prabhupada says here is being said that footstep of Mahajana, and then now we see accept the footstep of Mahajana, and then by the processing of follow the simple steps of devotional service, we can actually cross this, right? Okay, and Prabhupada quotes about the Bhagavatam. There are all these Mahajanas, Swayambhur, Narada, Sambhu, Kamaro, Kapilo, Manu, Prahlado, Janako, Bhishmo, Balir, Vivashikavyam. So these are the 9 uh, sages who are called as Mahajanas, and we should follow their footsteps, right? Okay, let's see next in text 31st. Swayam samudritriyas sudurstaram dhumana भवानवम भीममद भ्रमशौहृदा भवात् पदाम भोरुह नावम अत्रेते निध्याय याताह षड अनुग्रहो भवान. So Krishna is anugraha, right? He is very kind. षड अनुग्रह to Bhavan. You are very kind. How is he saying? Let's see. O Lord, you resemble the shining sun. You are always ready to fulfill the desire of your devotee, and therefore you are known as the desire tree, Vancha Kalpa Taru. When acharyas completely take shelter under your lotus feet, in order to cross the fierce ocean of nations, they leave behind on earth the method by which they cross, and because you are very merciful to your other devotees, you accept this method to help them. So, again, it says how to cross this ocean. What is saying that even if the acharyas, when they leave their body, the material body, even they don't have material body, actually, they go to the next service to another planet to help devotees taking the shelter of Krishna, how to cross these nations. What they do is they leave behind the method, right? But by practicing which, we can go like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He came as a devotee and he left the process, right? Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, eva kevalam. So he left the process, the method by which we can actually cross this nation, and that's why they and you are very merciful to your devotees, as Krishna is merciful to the devotees, and hence devotees are also merciful to the others, right? So we discussed this point a bit earlier as well, I think a couple of days back. Brahmanda Bhramite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. That Guru or the Acharyas, they provide this prasada, means mercy. We generally say prasada means the food. No, that's also prasada, but the prasada meaning is mercy. So in the whole universe, whole Brahmand, not whole Brahmand, who is Bhagyavan, who is the fortunate Jiva, who is the fortunate living being, is anyone who gets the seed of devotion, Bija, Bhakti Lata Bija, seed of devotion in our heart by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So if we are looking for a real Guru, I mean real, uh, if we really wanted to get out of this entanglement, we will be searching for real Guru, and then as our heart is there, and then Krishna inspire us where to go, where to find real Guru, and then so Krishna within our heart inspires us to take shelter of a Guru, and that Guru inspire us to take shelter of Krishna. That's why it says Guru Krishna Prasade. So this is both vice versa. Take shelter of a Guru, and then Guru will direct you towards Krishna. That's how that's the person who is fortunate, one who gets the seed of devotion in his heart from a bona fide Guru. So here Prabhupada says the by mercy of Guru and Krishna. So the duty of a Guru is to find the means according to the time, circumstances, and the candidate by which one can induce to render devotional service, and which Krishna accepts from a candidate who wants to be successful in going back to home, back to Godhead. Right. So that's the process is being the Devatas are saying that the Acharyas, they leave behind the process by which we can cross these materialisms. Right. That's nice point again from Narottam Das Thakur. The version, he says, Tandare charane sei bhakta sanivas janame janame hoy aiya vilas. One must worship the lotus feet of the Acharyas and live within the society of the devotees. Then one's endeavor to cross over nations will surely be successful. So that this process is given by which, following it, we can actually become successful is basically in one of the class in my home, maybe a month back, he's Grace Narshin Coach Prabhu is a DT ministry. He was giving a class, and then he mentioned his point, what are the meaning of successful, he made a very 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 relevant point. He said, the successful point is we might try to make our children when they grow up, maybe a doctor, an engineer or something. He says there are so many doctors. What difference will you make if you make your child a doctor? I mean, what is talking, let's go to the essence. It's not, he's not saying that we should not make a doctor, but the essence is different actually. Then he says there are so many engineers. What a difference you make if you make just one more engineer? But eventually he says that how many devotees are there? If you can make your child a nice devotee of the Lord, actually you are making a difference in the world. Because as you see here, seeing the devotees, they are capable of taking us back to Godhead, because they take shelter of Krishna, and that is the real success in our life. The success means going back to Godhead, because whatever we have here is going to be nullified anyway whenever we leave this body. So the real success is going back to Godhead, taking shelter of Acharyas, and go back to spiritual world. No more hankering here, unless Krishna wills us to be here and then render service to him. Text 32. Yenye Arvindaksha Vimuktamaninas Toya Astabhavad Avishuddha Buddhya Aruya Krichena Param Padam Tata Patyanti Adho anadhrata yushmad anugrahya. Someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek shelter at the Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are not devotees but who have accepted different process of attaining salvation. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and other demigods said, O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. Remember earlier we were discussing in I think Esther itself, like even if you follow the path of completely karma yoga or dhyana or ashtanga yoga, unless and until we come to the point of taking shelter lotus feet of the Lord, that is making no sense, no use. That's being clarified again by here by Devatas. They're saying their intelligence is impure, right? So uh, their intelligence is impure because they have not taken shelter at your lotus feet, right? So what is karma yoga? Karma yoga is basically trying to activity, but when it comes to yoga, we should offer to Lord. If there is no connection of Lord, sometimes okay, some people say, is you do your activity, that's only thing. It's not that. We have to connect with the Lord. Like when it's jnana is understanding philosophically that what is matter and what is non-matter, what is spirit and everything. But if you won't connect to the higher thing, the God, it's again a fail. Even in Ashtanga yoga process elaborately described in Canto 3 and Canto 2 as well, like how they meditate. They follow all the rules, yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, and then they go, after that they go toward the samadhi. Before samadhi they go to sadhana, and then it's really very very tedious and difficult task. And at the end, when they go to samadhi, still by the samadhi they are not liberated. After samadhi they actually elevate their consciousness by doing the six chakra, and they focus on the lotus feet of the Lord, or the lotus body of the Lord as a Paramatma, and then they get liberated. It's not an easy process. That's how Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita as well. Yogina vapi sarvesam mad gatinantar atmana श्रद्धावान bhajate yo mam samay yutamamata. From all the yogis, karma yogi, jnana yogi, dhyana yogi, ashtanga yogi, or bhakti yogi, whatever you think, all the yogis, he says, anyone who performs bhakti, he is the topmost. This is my verdict. That's Krishna saying. So we need to take the words of Krishna. Why to get entangled in so many different processes? Prabhupada says here, aside from devotees, there are many others non-devotees known as karmis, jnanis, yogi, philanthropists, altruists, politicians, imperialists, and wordists, and everything. There are many varieties of non-devotees who have their respective way of liberation, but simply because they do not know the shelter of lotus feet of the Lord, although they falsely think that they have been liberated and elevated to the highest position, they fall down. And Prabhupada quotes from Bhagavad Gita as well, from 9.3. So they come back. Unless until we have faith, it's not going to work. These are the verdict of Gita and Bhagavatam. And that's Krishna and his devotees what they are saying. The Acharyas what they are saying. It's nothing we are making or I'm making. It's all the things given by our Acharyas, the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita is clearly spoken by Krishna himself. So there should not be any doubt of what it is. Right? Okay. Again, Prabhupada quotes Brahma Samhita as well, Pramanyachyuta Balochanana, where we put the ointment in the eyes to see things properly. Like, as we were discussing earlier, like, when you go to watch a 3 or 4D movie, you need a different kind of glasses. If you are going to watch a VR, virtual reality, we need a proper glasses. You can't see by your own eyes. So in a similar way, we may see things here, but actually seeing bhakti is through the through the eyes of bhakti, we can take the next step. Otherwise, we seeing the same thing, but nothing is happening. So Prabhupada again quotes about what the process is. Simply think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer some homage to me. And this is simple process, and that's how one's granted to go home, go to back to Godhead. Okay, text 33. तथा न ते माधव तावका क्वचिद् भ्रश्यान्ति मार्गा त्वयि बद्ध सौहृदा तयाभिगुप्ता विचारन्ति निर्भया विना विनायकानि कपूर्मूर्धसु प्रभो. O Madhava, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord of the goddess of fortune, a devotee is completely in love with you, sometimes fall from the path of devotion. They do not fall like non-devotees, for you still protect, they thus they fearlessly traverse the heads of their opponent and continue to progress in devotional service. So a great point here made by Devata. So in previous verse we saw like how the non-devotees who do not take shelter of Lord, they fall down. They fall down. But here they are saying even there is devotee, if they might fall down from the path, you still protect them, and they fearlessly traverse the heads of their opponent and continue to progress devotional service. So if there is something, like for example, in this lifetime we could not complete our devotional service completely, then next life we will start from there and we'll continue from there. There is a no fall down. Actually, Krishna is protecting us there. There is the word it's again. So that's how he's clearly mentioning that the path of devotion is actually is Krishna protecting us, right? So Prabhupada says devotees generally do not fall down, but if circumstantially they do, the Lord, because of their strong attachment to Him, gives them protection in all circumstances. So be sure that He is protecting us. And Bhagavad Gita says as well, yeah, Prabhupada quoting here, Kanteya pratijanati name bhakta pranashyati. So, O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotees never perishes. Right, never perish, my devotees never perish. So these are the words of Krishna. Okay, and then the last verse of Bhagavad Gita, yatra yogasava Krishna yatra partha dhanurdhara tatra sri vijayar bhuti dhruva mitir mama. Dhanjananja is saying, wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna means his devotee, there's always, even there is Sri is there, their fortune is there as well. And that's how. Text 34. Sattvam visuddham sriyete bhuvan sthitau शरीरेण श्रेय उपायनं वपुः वेद क्रिया योग तप समाधिभिस्तावरहनं येन जनः समीध्यते. O Lord, during the time of maintenance, you manifest several incarnations, all with transcendental bodies, beyond the material modes of nature. When you appear in this way, you bestow all good fortune upon the living entities by teaching them to perform Vedic activities such as ritualistic ceremonies, mystic yoga, austerities, penance, and ultimately samadhi, ecstatic absorption in your thoughts. Thus, you are worshipped by the Vedic principles. So, different incarnations, different pastimes, we are entangled in different mode, and then we also follow different paths sometimes as well. Right? However, Krishna is bestowing all good fortune upon all the living entity. Right? Sometimes we are get debated with here, there, and okay, yogic practice and this and that, but still it's good. Somehow or other we are on the path, and then next step is waiting for us. And Prabhupada's quote from Bhagavad Gita saying that yagya dana tapa karma na tyajam. So we should not give up these things. The Vedic rituals, ceremonies, charity, austerity, and all such prescribed duties are never to be given up. So we should be performing those for our spiritual advancement, right? Unless until we are actually think ourselves as completely elevated. Even on the stage, they never give up the charity austerity as well. Austerity is always there. And in Kali Yuga, Chanting holy name of the Lord is again one of the austerity, right? Sitting for 2 hours and chanting holy name, it's really austerity in Kali Yuga. Okay, text 35. Sattam na chedatar idam nijam bhaved विज्ञानाम अज्ञानाम विदापमार्जनम गुण प्रकाशेरनु मुनीयते भवान प्रकाशते यस्य नशेन वा गुणः. O Lord, cause of all causes, if your transcendental body were not beyond the modes of material nature, one could not understand the difference between matter and transcendence. Only by your presence one can understand the transcendental nature of your lordship. You are controller of material nature. Your transcendental nature is very difficult to understand unless one is influenced by the presence of your transcendental form. How can someone be influenced by the presence of Krishna's transcendental form? Isn't it? This question comes up. How it's possible? And we see the answers are above. When we take shelter of a one of our spiritual master, the devotees, the Shastra, actually then we can be influenced by the presence of Krishna's transcendental form. It's very simple. How do we know about Krishna's transcendental form? We hear from the devotees, isn't it? Just by hearing from the devotees. And how do the devotees speak? They speak from the Shastras. So three things, three triangles, the three triangles, the corner of three triangles, the Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So Guru is always aligned with the Sadhu and the Shastra, and the Sadhu, the devotees, they are always aligned with the Guru and Shastra is also aligned with the Guru and the devotees. So these three triangles is our area of understanding. If someone is saying something, then it should be accepted by the same lineage Guru, and also it should be bona fide from a Shastra. So when we talk about, okay, Lord Balram's body is transcendental, Lord Krishna's body is transcendental, how they appear is transcendental. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 4, text 9, right? He's saying that anyone who knows my transcendental appearance and activities, by giving up the body, they do not take birth again. That Krishna is clearly explaining it, right? And how to know it? Just by hearing through devotees. See, Putana, right? So Putana, she came to kill Krishna, and Krishna was just 3-4 days, baby boy, very toddler, just 3 days, 3-4 days. Sometimes it's difficult for a child to suck the breast, milk from the breast of the mother, but he actually suck out life of Putana, a gigantic demon. So when she fell down, there are so many trees being fell down after on her body. So she was so huge, and Krishna was playing on that. And we'll see in the Canto 10 itself, the Brajavasis, they had to chop the body to burn it out. She was so huge, and Krishna sucked the death life of Putana. That's his transcendental activity. Krishna has never taken any weapon to kill any of the demon. There are so many demons they came, but Krishna was just like breaking a toys. He was just throwing it away like that. So these are the pastimes where we hear. That's how we get influenced by the presence of the Lord. Right? Otherwise, they are saying, the Devatas are saying that your transcendental nature is very difficult to understand, inconceivable, achinta veda ved. Sometimes it's beyond all logics. No logic is applied there. 7-year-old boy on the weakest finger of the body in the left hand is anyway counted as weak, and even in the left hand, the pinky finger, the little finger, he's holding a mountain for 7 days and 7 nights continuously. That's inconceivable. We can't even hold one brick for 30 minutes or 20 minutes. Even if you go to gym, there's so many gymnastics, they hold the big weight for some seconds to become Mr. World or Mr. World. But just imagine, Krishna is holding for 7 days and 7 nights. That's his transcendental activity. That's how Krishna is saying, Janma Karma Chame Divya, my activities are and my appearance are Dibya. We'll see in chapter 3 how Krishna has appeared. And we already saw chapter 2 itself how Lord Balrama appeared. Can you imagine? He was transferred from the womb itself of Mother Devaki and into the Mother Rohini's womb, and he appeared there. So it's transcendental. It's no one can do like that, right? So yeah, Prabhupada says it is said Traiguniya Vishya Vedan is Traiguna Bhavarjuna. Unless one is situated in transcendence, one cannot understand the transcendental nature of the Lord, right? So it's basically like if you want to see something what's happening on the ground, you need to go on the top. Like we have now this what do you say, those cameras. Forgot the name. Oh goodness, Kali Yuga mind.
Drones.
Drones. Yeah, thank you. The drone. We see, we see the drone, and then we can see what's happening on the ground. But if you see from the inside that, we can't see the whole picture, right? If you go to Paris, from here you can see, oh, nice Paris, nice picture. There's Eiffel Tower, and then you see so many things. But when you stand there in front of the Eiffel Tower, you can't see anything. It just looks like an iron rod standing before you. But when you go on top, you can see how the Paris looks like over there, right? So to understand this transcendental nature, we have to be transcendence, and that can be only done by taking shelter of the Lord and his devotees. And how it happens? Only by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead one can understand him. So there is no other way. To understand Krishna, there is no other way. And we discussed earlier as well, like the devotees, they hold Krishna within their heart, so they can give us the Vaishnavas, they can give us. So that's the way to understand Krishna, taking shelter. That's what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, that approach a bona fide spiritual master, do service to him, and then inquire about absolute truth. So he's going to give you the absolute truth. And then we can understand the transcendental nature of the Lord. Otherwise, by speculating by our own, it's not going to work at all. It's not going to work. And Prabhupada says, the airplanes in the Vaikuntha Loka, they have special airplanes. They used to move around anywhere, whatever they want. And see, Narada Muni, he can go to any planet, even to spiritual world, without any aeroplane, without any ticket. He can go anywhere. And now we are searching out how to go to other planets, finding it away, right? So that's the process of Vedic literature, taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, understanding the process through him, and practicing it. Okay, let's see next. There's a nice purport actually Prabhupada gives, and there are so many things to discuss elaborately, but we have a limited time. And then Prabhupada, I can say last point, like how foolish people, they do not understand it, because avajananti mama mudha manushim tanumasritam, where Krishna appears, because of the ignorance, they do not understand that he is actually Supreme Being Krishna. Right. Text 33. Na nama rupa guna janma karma bhir nirupatyeva tava tasya sakshini मनोवचोभ्यम अनुमेय वर्तमनो देव क्रियामाम प्रतियंति अथापि ही. O Lord, your transcendental name and form are not ascertained by those who merely speculate on the path of imagination. Your name, form, and attributes can be ascertained only through devotional service. So just we discussed, and the verse comes here, that it can be understood only through devotional service. Devotional service is not, it's not about inactivity. It's actually an positive engagement in the service of the Lord. That's why everywhere, whenever it's bhakti comes, Prabhupada says it's a devotional service. It's not just inert. It actually is an activity to please the Lord, right? That's how devotional service comes up. And Prabhupada quoting saying that Atah Sri Krishna Namadi na bhavet graham India Shevan Mukhe Jiva Dau Swayam Eva Spratihada. Understanding Krishna, we just discussed earlier that how to understand Krishna, it's by the mercy of Krishna. And from Padma Purana is being said, Swayam eva smritayadaha. It actually, you get to know by its own. It's sprouts within your heart. What the process? Sevan mukhe jivado. Just by engaging our senses, especially the tongue. Tongue can be engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord, glorifying Krishna's pastimes, and importantly, taking Krishna Prasadam, honoring Krishna Prasadam by engaging our tongue in the service. Seva and mukhe, seva, bring service through the tongue. We can understand Krishna. Otherwise, atha Krishna namadi na bhavet gram indra. Otherwise, by our speculation, by our senses, we cannot understand, because our senses are contaminated. We cannot understand Krishna. As seen earlier, like, we can't see 3D or 4D movie just by your naked eye. We need some special specs, and that special specs is devotional service to understand Krishna. Right. So, okay, and we discussed this verse as well. Without devotional service, it's difficult to understand Krishna. Let's go next verse. Yeah, Prabhupada quote this verse again here, chapter 4, next 9. Janma karma chame divyam. We discuss this point as well. Uh, just by understanding that Krishna's transcendental activities and appearance, we are actually elevated to the spiritual world, attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna, and never takes birth again here. Right? Very simple, very simple, very small thing. Just by understanding that Krishna's activities are transcendental, we do not take any birth. But to understand that Krishna's activities are transcendental, we might spend lifetimes, lifetimes if we try to do by our own. Right? But taking shelter of acharyas, it can be quicker. Oh, okay. Yes. Text 37. Shriman gram samsmarasya samshachintyantan namani rupani cha mangalani te kriyasu yatvach charanarvindayor avishta chetana bhavaya kalpate. Even while engaged in various activities, devotees whose minds are completely absorbed at your lotus feet and who constantly hear, chant, and contemplate and cause others to remember your transcendental names and forms are always on the transcendental platform, and thus they can understand the Supreme Lord easily. So, we discussed about devotional service, and this here is the activities being given. What happens? A devotee whose minds are completely absorbed at your lotus feet and they constantly hear, chant, and contemplate. See, if you see this whole Bhagavatam, how it started? The whole Bhagavatam started like when Parshit Maharaj was on the bank of river Ganges. He was about to die in 7 days. And there he asked this question, very beautiful question. He asked that what a person should do, what a person should hear, speak, and remember at the time of death. And that's how Sukadeva Goswami explains everything about what a person should do and what a person should not do at the time of death. And he speaks about glorifying Krishna, hearing about Krishna, and remembering Krishna. So that's how the devotee does. They hear about Krishna, they chant Krishna's holy name, they think about Krishna, and very importantly, they cause others to remember your transcendental names and forms. That's how the devotees, they go out for Sankirtan, for book distribution, and then let people know that these are the way you can remember this transcendental name of the Lord. Right? So that's the way we can understand Krishna. Otherwise, there is no way. So how Bhakti Yoga can be practiced is explained in this verse that we discussed. Right? Okay. Yeah, Prabhupada quotes again from Bhagavad Gita, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. So always chanting my glories, Atandaschya Dravrata, and endeavoring with great determination. Namastasya cha Mam Bhaktya, bowing down before me, Nitya Yukta Upasate, and they perpetually worship me with devotion. Upasate, they worship me Nitya constantly. Right, so these are the way chanting Krishna's holy name, hearing Krishna Katha, bowing down before him and glorifying his activities. That's the devotional service. And Krishna Prasadam. Prabhupada says, this is being says chanting, dancing, and feasting. Chant the holy name, dance for the pleasure of the Lord, and then have Krishna Prasad. And life is bliss. Okay, I think we are running out of time. We will stop today. Actually, there are 3 more verses in this chapter. I'm okay to continue, but I'm okay as well to continue the next day as you feel, because it's already 9:15. We started late today. Anyway, we'll stop today here, and there are 3 more verses. We'll continue tomorrow, and then on to chapter number 3. Chapter number 3 is Krishna's appearance. Yeah, so there is a one quick question in the comment. We'll just read out, and then can we understand Krishna's transcendental form activities from a devotional service alone, or do we have to read scriptures and hear from a sadhu and pure devotees? Yes, so a good question, but the point is, doing devotional service alone is actually quite difficult. It's quite difficult to get distracted uh, by our own. It's quite difficult, or it's quite possible as well to 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 take a different path. You might not we might not able to understand the context, the process very well by alone. I'll give a small example how it happens. Let's, for example, you say that I'll go to library and I'll read a book on medical science. However, I won't go to uh, I won't go to medical college. I'll just read the science book, medical science book, and then I'll say, okay, I've read the science book now, and I say myself that I'm a doctor, I can operate, so I can do surgery. So what do we think? Is it viable? Is it feasible? If people will come to get surgery with you, I mean with us, if you don't go to a proper institute to get a proper bona fide university and get certificate and get degree from there, just by reading the books in the library, though these are ABCD, we can read the words, but is it kind of, are we a claim that I'm a bona fide doctor, that I can do surgery? Answer is no, because as we have just went to the library and read the book, it doesn't mean that we have understood everything. That's why otherwise there's no need of any universities, isn't it? So what happens when you go to universities? We learn many things from our professors. They teach by their experience and also through the book. So in the similar way, the devotional service, if you try to do alone, by Krishna's mercy, we might follow right path, we might understand things better. However, there is a possibility of getting diverted or misunderstanding things, because Sanskrit, Sanskrit, just one word, one letter here and there, the meaning just changed. And that's why there are many philosophers, they check here and there, and then they kind of distort the meaning of Gita itself. So there are possibility that we might get deviated from the real path. However, reading scriptures and also hearing from a bona fide sadhu or devotees, it will help us to take the right decision, right path, and right time. Is that make clear, Prabhu?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. So basically, hearing with association of devotees, it's so our own faith on the scripture increases. Like in couple of days, I think a month back, I was in the temple class, giving class, and there a question comes up: how do we measure our advancement in Krishna consciousness? We can't measure it. So, okay, I'm chanting the holy name, but I don't see any effect here. However, how we measure is we see our acharyas, we see our previous acharyas, that how they have followed the same process and they have done it. So seeing them and following on their footstep and taking their instruction, we do the same. And eventually, if we do the right as they follow, as they give instructions, we will do the same thing. One day we'll have those attachment for the holy name, attachment for the Vrindavan Dham, attachment for Krishna, and then go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here. Anyone have any other questions? And apology for delay today. Actually, I went to temple for Balram Jayanti celebration for some time. So, and if nothing, and we can stop here. I had one realization today, so I was rushing from temple to come back home on time so that we can start the session today. And when I was on the motorway, I saw a sign there says there is a long queue after junction 16. And you know what? When we are near junction 15, we saw a definitely very, very long queue. And I was saying to my wife, just imagine if there's a queue on junction 10 or earlier, then we might not reach on time. And junction 16 where we used to take exit. So till junction 16 there was no queue, and we went through easily and cross, and we reach on time. So that's how Krishna manages our time. I got a realization there, right? So after junction 16, actually there was very, very long queue, and certainly I could not have made on time today otherwise. So that's how Krishna plans our things as well, isn't it? Jai. So we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Bhagavatam ki jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. We'll continue tomorrow. The last 3 verses of the chapter and then chapter 3.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.